And now for the division. So remember again, division, this is all fractions, so it follows the same rules as fractions. When we divide a fraction, again, our question is, do we need common denominators? And again, no, we don't. There is that one extra step, though, of the fact that we never actually divide fractions. Instead, we multiply by the reciprocal. So on the right side there, the reciprocal of 3/10 is 10/3. We flip it upside down. Now it's multiplication, and we're doing the same stuff that we did for the multiplying. First, we check to see if there's anything we can reduce by. So 7 and 3, no common factors. 10 and 12, oh, those have common factors of 2. So I'm going to reduce that to 5, and the 12 to 6. Now we can multiply straight across. 7 times 5 is 35, and 6 times 3 is 18. So for our rational expressions, we factor. That's always going to be our first step, with the exception of one part, which will come in the next notes. And then we find restrictions. We flip or find the reciprocal. Now when we do that, we get a new denominator, so we may have new restrictions. After that, we simplify. So factor, restrictions, reciprocal or flip, new restrictions, and simplify. So let's start with our factoring. On the upper left, x squared minus 1. Well, that's a difference of squares. So we have x plus 1 and x minus 1. On the bottom, we have no common factors. So the factors of positive 6 that add to positive 5 are positive 2 and positive 3. On the upper right, there's no common factors. So the factors of positive 2 that add to negative 3 are negative 2 and negative 1. And then on the bottom right there, there's no factoring to do. There's no common factor. There's no squares or anything like that. Now for the restrictions. Step 2. This x cannot be negative 2. This x cannot be negative 3. And this x cannot be negative 3. So now we're going to take the second part and we're going to do the reciprocal or flip it upside down, which will make this x plus 3 on the top and x minus 2 and x minus 1 on the bottom. Step 4, find new restrictions if there are any. Well, there are. This x minus 2 has a restriction at 2, and the x minus 1 has a restriction at 1. So we did our factoring. We did our first restrictions that got us negative 2, negative 3, and negative 3. We did our flip or reciprocal. We have our new restrictions at positive 2 and positive 1. Now we can simplify. So any top to any bottom. So I can reduce the x plus 3's. I can reduce the x minus 1's. And it looks like that's about it. So what's left on the top that's not crossed off is x plus 1. On the bottom, I have an x plus 2 and an x minus 2. Again, you can multiply that together if you want, but we don't need to. So this is going to be our simplified answer with all of these restrictions. And that's it for 7.3. Have a great night.